He conquered half the known world, building the largest empire Earth had ever seen. But he didn't rule through fear or terror. He freed slaves instead of creating them. He allowed people to worship their own gods. He wrote the first Declaration of Human Rights 2,500 years before the United Nations even existed. His enemies didn't curse his name. They called him Father. His people didn't fear him. They called him Liberator. Even those he defeated respected him. He was Cyrus the Great, king of Persia, founder of the Achaemenid Empire. And this is the story of the king who changed everything. The man who proved that you can conquer the world with mercy, not just with the sword. Cyrus was born around 600 BC in Anshan, a small kingdom in what is now southern Iran. He was born into royalty, but his life almost ended before it began. His grandfather, Astyages, was king of the Medes, one of the most powerful empires of the ancient world. But Astyages had a terrifying dream. He dreamed that his grandson would one day rise up and overthrow him, destroying everything he had built. Fearing this prophecy, Astyages made a brutal decision. He ordered his most trusted servant to take the newborn baby into the wilderness and kill him. But when the servant looked into the infant's eyes, he couldn't do it. He couldn't murder an innocent child. Instead, he gave the baby to a shepherd family to raise in secret. Cyrus survived. The boy destined to be king grew up among the common people, learning resilience, humility, and strength. Fate had other plans for him. Cyrus grew up strong, intelligent, and charismatic. Even as a young man, people saw greatness in him. By his 20s, he had become king of Anshan. But ruling a small kingdom was not enough. He wanted to unite all the Persian tribes and challenge the empire that had tried to murder him. In 550 BC, Cyrus launched a rebellion against his grandfather Astyages. The two armies met on the battlefield, but the Median soldiers refused to fight. They switched sides and joined Cyrus. Astyages was captured. Cyrus became ruler of the combined Medes and Persians. The Achaemenid Empire was born. Next, Cyrus turned west toward Lydia, ruled by the fabulously wealthy King Croesus. Croesus was one of the richest men alive, his treasury overflowing with gold. Nervous about Persia's rise, Croesus consulted the Oracle of Delphi, asking if he should attack. The oracle gave a cryptic answer. If he attacked Persia, a great empire would fall. Confident this meant Persia would collapse, Croesus invaded with his entire army. He was right about one thing: a great empire did fall. His own. Cyrus crushed him in battle and captured the capital city, Sardis. But here's what shocked the ancient world. Cyrus spared Croesus's life. Then came Babylon, the greatest, most magnificent city in the entire world, protected by massive walls so thick the chariots could race along the top. It was considered absolutely impregnable, impossible to conquer. Its king, Nabonidus, had angered his own people by neglecting their sacred gods and ruling poorly. The Babylonians were ready for change. In 539 BC, Cyrus marched his army toward Babylon, but he didn't waste lives attacking those legendary walls with siege weapons. Instead, he used brilliant strategy. He diverted the Euphrates River that flowed under the walls. His soldiers quietly walked through the dry riverbed at night, entering beneath the fortifications. Babylon fell without a single major battle. What Cyrus did next changed history forever. For decades, the Jews had been held captive in Babylon, exiled from their homeland after Jerusalem was destroyed and their temple burned. Every conqueror before Cyrus had treated defeated peoples as slaves or spoils of war. But Cyrus was different. He believed in mercy over domination. He issued a decree allowing the Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their holy temple. Not only that, he funded the reconstruction from the royal treasury. He returned the sacred vessels taken by Nebuchadnezzar. The Hebrew Bible later praised Cyrus as God's anointed, calling him Messiah, a title usually reserved for Israelite kings. A foreign ruler had become a savior in Jewish tradition. Cyrus didn't stop there. He issued a revolutionary declaration written on a clay cylinder in cuneiform script. It proclaimed that all people had the right to choose their own religion freely, that conquered peoples should be treated with dignity and respect, not as slaves, that cultural heritage and traditions should be protected and honored. This cylinder was discovered buried in the ruins of Babylon centuries later. Today, it is considered the world's first charter of human rights. 2,500 years before the United Nations drafted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Cyrus understood a fundamental truth that many kings and emperors never learned. Cyrus built the largest empire the world had ever seen. It stretched from the Mediterranean Sea in the west to Central Asia in the east, from Egypt in the south all the way to India in the northeast. But he didn't rule through fear, terror, or oppression. He allowed conquered peoples to keep their languages, religions, and customs intact. He appointed local governors who understood their own regions. He built extensive roads connecting distant provinces for trade and communication. He created an efficient postal system to relay messages across vast distances. He standardized weights, measures, and currency to facilitate commerce. Cyrus understood a revolutionary idea. Diversity could be a strength, not a weakness. His empire worked because people genuinely wanted to be part of it. But don't mistake mercy for weakness. Cyrus was a brilliant and feared military commander. He completely reformed the Persian army from the ground up, creating specialized units of elite cavalry, skilled archers, and disciplined heavy infantry. He mastered psychological warfare, deliberately spreading stories of his mercy and justice to convince cities to surrender without bloodshed or siege. Those who accepted his rule were treated with kindness and respect, but those who resisted faced the full, devastating might of his professional forces. He was compassionate and generous to the obedient, absolutely ruthless to the rebellious. This careful balance of mercy and strength made him nearly unbeatable on the battlefield. Enemies feared his army but respected his character. Greek historian Xenophon wrote an entire book about Cyrus called the Historiopedia, meaning the education of Cyrus. It describes him as the ideal ruler, the model king. Cyrus believed that a king's sacred duty was to serve his people, not the other way around. He listened carefully to his advisors and valued their wisdom. He rewarded merit, skill, and loyalty over birthright or noble blood. He led from the front in every battle, risking his own life alongside his men. He ate the same food as his soldiers, shared their hardships and dangers. Cyrus believed that winning hearts and earning loyalty was far more valuable than simply winning battles through force. This wasn't just naive idealism. It was strategic genius that built an empire. In 530 BC, Cyrus marched northeast to defend his empire's distant frontier. He faced the Massagetae, a fierce nomadic warrior tribe led by the powerful Queen Tomyris. In the early fighting, her beloved son was captured and killed. Consumed by grief and rage, Tomyris swore vengeance. She lured Cyrus and his army into a carefully planned trap deep in her territory. In the brutal, bloody battle that followed, Cyrus the Great fell fighting. According to ancient legend, Tomyris searched the battlefield until she found his body. She severed his head and threw it into a leather bag filled with human blood, saying bitterly he had finally gotten his fill of bloodshed. The greatest king of the ancient world died on a distant, forgotten battlefield. His body was brought back to Persia and placed in a simple stone tomb in Pasargadae, the beautiful capital city he had built with his own vision. The tomb still stands today, over 2,500 years later. On it was inscribed a powerful message, "O man, whoever you are and wherever you come from, for I know you will come, I am Cyrus, who gave the Persians their empire. Do not begrudge me this small bit of earth that covers my body." Even in death, his characteristic humility remained. No golden monuments, no towering pyramids, just a simple tomb for a king who changed the world. 200 years after Cyrus died, when Alexander the Great conquered Persia and burned Persepolis to the ground, he made a special journey to visit the simple tomb at Pasargadae. He found it had been vandalized, robbed, and desecrated, and he was absolutely furious. This was the same man who had destroyed the greatest cities of the Persian Empire, who had erased centuries of history in fire. But Alexander immediately ordered the tomb fully restored. He ordered the negligent guards punished for failing to protect it. Even the man who destroyed the Persian Empire deeply respected the man who built it. That is the true unmatched power of Cyrus's legacy. Cyrus's revolutionary ideas echoed powerfully through history across millennia. Thomas Jefferson studied him intensely and admired his principles. The American founding fathers referenced Cyrus directly when designing the Constitution and debating the structure of government. The fundamental concepts of religious freedom, equal justice under law, and limited government all trace their philosophical roots back to Cyrus. He proved something radical, that you could build a lasting empire on respect and justice rather than terror and oppression. That diversity could unite people rather than divide them into conflict. That mercy and compassion could be weapons far more powerful than the sword. 25 centuries later, his tomb still stands, and his ideas still shape how we think about freedom, justice, and human dignity. Cyrus the Great, born a prince sentenced to death before he could even walk, died an emperor loved and mourned by millions across 3 continents. He conquered the known world through mercy and strategic brilliance. He ruled through justice, tolerance, and respect for all peoples. He built an empire that honored human dignity above all else. 2,500 years later, his powerful words still echo through the halls of history. His simple tomb still stands in Pasargadae, visited by thousands. His legacy still inspires leaders, philosophers, and freedom fighters worldwide. He didn't just conquer the world with armies and swords. He changed it forever with ideas that will never die. This is Historiopedia, history that feels real,